Revealed. How a millionaire discovers life-changing love with a poor girl at the bus stop. Michael glanced out of his sleek, black SUV as he cruised through the bustling suburb, the morning sun glinting off his expensive watch. A millionaire at 38, he had achieved everything he was supposed to: money, success, respect. But as his gaze landed on the same bus stop he saw every day, his heart clenched. There was Sarah with that contagious smile, her vibrant energy lighting up the dreary morning. She stood there, waiting with unwavering determination for a bus that often ran late. As the rain began to fall, it felt like an omen. Today was different. He hesitated, his breath catching in his throat. He got out, slicking his hair back. Sarah looked up with that brilliant smile, meeting his eyes as if they were old friends. They fell into conversation, comfortable and real as the storm raged around them. She told him about her dream of becoming a nurse, her struggles to pay her bills. But there was no bitterness in her voice, just passion and heart. In contrast, he found himself sharing snippets of his life. The pressure to wear a mask, the emptiness of gatherings that felt like performances. "Sometimes I just want to be me, you know? Not just a name on a business card," he admitted, his voice heavy with honesty. They laughed together, a connection sprouting between the two worlds they inhabited, the disparity so stark, yet melting under the rising warmth of their bond. Before they knew it, the bus pulled up, breaking the moment. Yet their eyes met again, a silent promise hanging in the air. "See you tomorrow, right?" Sarah said with a hopeful grin. Michael nodded, feeling lighter despite the weight of expectations that loomed over him. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Days turned into weeks, their connection deepening. But whispers followed him, friends questioning his choices, family frowning upon this serious relationship. "Why her?" they scoffed, the implied judgment slicing through him like a cold knife. Yet long drives home from work dragged heavier now. Thoughts of Sarah filled his mind like daylight piercing through clouds, hope and excitement racing within him. The tension built to that fateful evening when he introduced Sarah to his friends. A casual dinner chat turned sour with miscommunication, leaving both of them feeling like outsiders. Afterward, Michael stood in the dim light of his living room, heart pounding in his ears. How had it come to this? The fear of losing her gripped him tightly, but the loud voices around him threatened to drown out the truth. Standing up at the next gathering, as those questioning eyes leaned in, Michael took a deep breath. "I love Sarah," he said, his voice ringing clear like a bell. "Those who matter, their backgrounds don't define them. What really matters is their heart." Gasps filled the space, the weight of societal expectations heavy in the air. As he faced a room burdened by prejudice, he felt an electric charge crackle through him. The echo of his words left them stunned while he fought against the fear surging within. Was love enough to bridge this divide? Hope flickered, but it also left him wondering, could they ever truly be together in a world so focused on class? Both love and uncertainty clouded their journey. Would their hearts endure this storm? Before the curtain fell on this chapter, that question hung in the air, promising to challenge everything they believed. The following day felt heavier than the last. Michael woke up with a tight feeling in his chest, the echoes of his declaration still ringing in his ears. He could almost see the shocked faces of his friends, the doubt fading from their eyes like mist in the morning sun. But amid the uncertainty, a new resolve blossomed within him. He needed to prove that love was worth the fight. He pulled on a crisp shirt and straightened his tie in the mirror. Today he would take Sarah out for dinner somewhere special. Part of him wanted to ease the tension they had faced together, to create a moment that transcended the judgments swirling around them. Nerves fluttered in his stomach as he envisioned her face lighting up at the restaurant, the thought of her infectious smile pushing him to take the leap. When he arrived at the bus stop, his heart raced as he saw Sarah waiting. She looked stunning, her hair falling in soft waves against her shoulders. "Hey!" she greeted, her face brightening when she saw him. The doubts began to lift, replaced by that familiar warmth. "Hi! Ready for some adventure?" he asked, an excited spark lighting his eyes. Adventure? She laughed, her eyes twinkling with curiosity. What do you mean? Well, I thought we could skip the usual routine and go to a nice restaurant. Just to celebrate. His voice faltered momentarily. Her expression shifted, a mixture of surprise and joy bursting into a radiant smile. Are you serious? I've never been to a fancy restaurant before. Then it's time you experience it, he said, holding out his hand. She took it easily, their fingers weaving together as they walked toward where his SUV was parked. The drive was filled with light chatter, but beneath the surface, nervousness simmered in Michael. Would this dinner change the way Sarah felt about their world? Or would it just emphasize the divide that seemed to loom larger than ever? As they entered the restaurant, the glow of soft lighting enveloped them, the scent of gourmet dishes wafting through the air. Sarah looked around wide-eyed, astonishment dancing across her features. Michael felt protective instincts kick in. He wanted her to feel every bit as special as she was. They sat at their table, candles flickering softly as the waiter approached with menus. Michael took a deep breath and tried to keep the conversation flowing. So, tell me more about your dream of becoming a nurse, he prompted, wanting to steer the focus toward the future. Her face lit up as she spoke passionately about her aspirations. I just want to help people, you know? I want to make a difference. The sincerity in her voice struck a chord within him, and for that moment, their separate worlds blurred. Yet, throughout the evening, the shadows of doubt crept into their conversation like unwelcome guests. Michael could sense the unspoken fears hanging between them, the challenges they would face together, the judgments they would endure as dessert arrived. A rich slice of chocolate cake. Sarah hesitated. Michael, do you think your friends will ever accept me? She asked, her brows knitting together with worry. In that moment, Michael felt the weight of her insecurity pressing down on him. He reached across the table, taking hold of her hands. Sarah, I want you to know that my feelings for you are real. I don't care what others think. I just want you to be you. But even as the words left his lips, he wondered if love was truly enough in a world so bound by perceptions. They finished their meal, the rich flavors mingling with an underlying tension that neither could shake. As they walked back to the car, the question loomed larger than ever. Did love alone have the power to change their reality? Michael looked at her, seeing hope and worry reflected in her gaze. They both knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but in that moment, they recognized their shared fight. Would they stand against the world? Or would they be forced to face the truth of their different paths? With the stars shimmering above, they moved closer together, the future uncertain but promising as they drove away. As Michael started the engine, a question echoed in his mind: what sacrifices would they both have to make for their love to thrive? The car's engine hummed softly as they drove through the night. Michael's mind raced while the streetlights flickered overhead like a metronome, keeping time to his anxious thoughts. The questions he had tried so hard to push to the back of his mind crept back in, whispering doubts that gnawed at him. Would people's opinions really matter that much? Could they genuinely build something together? Or were they only setting themselves up for heartache? Are you okay? Sarah's voice broke through his reverie as he turned to her, finding concern written all over her face. She looked beautiful even in the low light, and he hated that he was burdening her with his worries. Yeah, just thinking about some stuff. About your friends? She asked, a hint of vulnerability in her tone. He hesitated, unsure of how to answer. I hope they come around, he finally said, but I can't pretend that it's an easy thing. I want them to accept you, Sarah. You deserve that. What if they never do? She replied, her voice almost a whisper. The question hung in the air, heavy and unsaid, like a cloud threatening rain. Michael swallowed hard, grappling with feelings that were too complex to unravel right now. Then we'll just have to figure it out, right? Together? Her smile returned, but it was slightly strained, as if she was trying to convince herself just as much as him. Together, she echoed, her fingers brushing against his. For a fleeting moment, it felt like a promise, but Michael could sense the uncertainty lurking behind her bravado. When they arrived back at Sarah's neighborhood, he parked with a hint of reluctance, not ready for the night to end. The glow from the street lamp cast a soft light over them, and he could see the fine lines of worry still etched onto her face. It mirrored his own feelings, and the vulnerability between them felt tangible. Can I walk you to your door? He asked, mostly buying time to extend the moments that felt too fleeting. Of course, she replied, and together they stepped out into the cool night air. Their hands intertwined as they approached her home. The quiet alley was filled with nothing but the rustling leaves and the occasional distant laughter echoing from nearby houses. The world felt suspended, and within it, the weight of expectation pressed in from all sides. Sarah stopped just outside her gate, turning to face him. "Michael, I want you to know how much tonight meant to me. I've always dreamed of moments like this. But it's terrifying too." Her admission struck him. This was a girl full of dreams, hopes, and fears so raw and real. "I get that, Sarah. But everything worth having comes with risks. Like climbing a mountain or diving into the deep end," she said, her lips curving in a soft smile. "Exactly." He stepped closer, feeling the electric pull between them, the flickering line of doubt being held at bay for just a moment longer. "But what if we could conquer this mountain together?" She searched his eyes, her expression softening. In that moment, he saw the desire for adventure clashing with her fear of the unknown. "What if?" she echoed, her voice almost a murmur, but the vulnerability in her gaze held a strength he admired. Then she took a step back, breaking the spell. "I should go in," she said, her voice trailing off. Michael nodded, feeling the weight of the moment shift. Before she turned to head inside, she paused. "Promise me, win or lose, we'll always be honest with each other?" "Always," he vowed, feeling a deep sense of commitment wash over him as she walked through the gate. Michael stood still for a few moments, watching her go, his mind racing with possibilities. Could they truly find a way to overcome the obstacles that loomed before them? Or were they both simply chasing an impossible dream? With one last glance back, Sarah disappeared inside, leaving him alone under the shimmering stars. Michael's heart thudded in his chest. The point of no return felt closer than ever. What would the next day bring? Would he have the courage to defend their love against the world that surrounded them? Or would he succumb to their fears? As he turned to get back into his SUV, a single thought struck him with the force of a revelation. Tomorrow might just change everything in ways he couldn't even begin to imagine. The following morning came too fast, the sun breaking through the blinds in stark beams that forced Michael from sleep. He rubbed his eyes, staring up at the familiar ceiling as memories of the night before flooded back. Sarah's face, her voice echoing with vulnerability, pushed any lingering drowsiness aside. Those moments had sparked something inside him, a yearning to protect and support her. No matter what lay ahead, he tossed aside the sheets and swung his legs over the edge of the bed. Today was the day. A test of sorts. Michael had decided to invite a couple of his close friends over. They had been tight since high school, and their opinions mattered to him maybe too much. But one thought persisted: Sarah was worth it. After a quick shower and a breakfast of toast, he grabbed his phone and shot her a message. "Hey, think you might want to join me later? My friends are coming over, will be fun." For a heartbeat, he breathed in worry. Would she even want to meet them? He focused on the radio, hoping some upbeat tune would distract him. But the weight of uncertainty clouded his thoughts. As he waited, time seemed to stretch on endlessly, each tick of the clock amplifying his anticipation. His phone buzzed, breaking the stillness like a splash in a pond. Sarah's reply brightened his heart. "I'd love to. Just let me know when." Relief washed over him, mixed with excitement. The hours crawled until finally his friends arrived. Laughter echoed through the living room as they settled in, cracking jokes and reminiscing about old times. He loved these moments of camaraderie, but he couldn't shake the gnawing worry about how they would react to Sarah. "Hey, is that a new shirt?" Jake asked, nudging Michael's arm. "You trying to impress someone?" Cringing internally, Michael half smiled, unsure if he wanted to share his feelings yet, fearing their teasing. Just cleaned up for guests," he replied dismissively. Then the doorbell rang and Michael's heart leaped. It was Sarah. His friends fell silent as he stepped toward the door, taking a deep breath before opening it. "Hey!" Her smile lit up his world. She wore a casual sundress, the sun casting a warm glow around her. "Thanks for inviting me," she said, her eyes sparkling with genuine happiness. "Of course. Come on in." He felt the weight of his friends' gazes as they exchanged quick glances. Once inside, welcoming gestures morphed into awkwardness. Michael introduced Sarah, feeling the tension trickle in. "This is my boy Jake and this is Rachel." "Hi. So nice to finally meet you," Rachel chimed, But Michael could see the uncertainty shadowing Jake's face, a hint of judgment waiting just beneath the surface. They began chatting, mostly light topics, but he could feel the undercurrents of skepticism. Sarah held her ground, engaging with them, but he noticed her smile faltered slightly when Jake cracked a joke about appearances. "So, Mike, you're seriously dating a girl from our old neighborhood?" Michael's chest tightened. "Yeah, and she's amazing. I thought you guys would be cool with it." Silence blanketed the room. Sarah shifted her weight, her confidence waning. He could tell she felt the sharpness of judgment, and every second ticked away painfully. Then she surprised him by stepping forward, her voice trembling yet unwavering. "Look, I know I come from a different background and I get that this might seem odd to some of you. But I'm here because I genuinely care about Michael. He has brought joy into my life." Her candidness wrapped around the room like a warm embrace, disarming to both Michael and his friends. In that moment, Michael felt a surge of pride. They all exchanged glances and he sensed the shift, the lingering doubt in the air slowly dissipating. "Wow, didn't he expect that?" Jake said, breaking into a hesitant smile. "Guess you've got guts, Sarah." Respect. His unexpected endorsement sparked a new energy. Maybe, just maybe, they would come around as the evening unfolded. Laughter and stories filled the air. But Michael couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. With every shared word, he sensed the walls melting. But there was still a nagging fear about what tomorrow might hold. What if the shadows of doubt crept back in? As the sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows across the walls, Michael realized the true challenge lay ahead. Not in winning his friends over, but in weathering the storms of insecurity and expectation. Would Sarah be able to hold on through it all? And just as that thought settled in, his phone buzzed with a new message. He glanced down, his heart racing as he read, "We need to talk." It was a message from Sarah. Michael's heart thudded in his chest as he stared at the message glowing on his screen. "We need to talk." It felt like a punch to the gut. Every smile shared with Sarah during the evening suddenly seemed fragile, teetering on the edge of a cliff. What kind of talk could this be? He excused himself from the growing chit-chat of his friends, stepping out onto the porch. The cool evening air wrapped around him like a reminder to breathe. The stars shimmered above, stark against the deepening blue. But his mind raced in darker directions. What did Sarah want to discuss? A soft rustling behind him pulled him from his spiral of anxiety. Sarah stepped onto the porch, the hesitant smile on her face doing little to soothe the rising tension. "Hey," she said, her voice a quiet melody against the backdrop of laughter from inside. "Hey," Michael replied, motioning for her to take a seat on the porch step beside him. "So what's up?" She sighed, the weight of her thoughts pressing on her shoulders. "I don't want to ruin the vibe inside. It's a good night for you and your friends." He shook his head. "You can't ruin anything. Just tell me." Her pale hands fidgeted with the edge of her sundress, betraying her calm facade. I really like spending time with you, but I've been thinking a lot about us, about our different worlds." Michael felt a lump rise in his throat, everything hanging in the balance. "Yeah, I know. It's not easy, but you held your own tonight. You were amazing with them." "Thank you, but I can feel the differences. They're your friends, they're comfortable in their lives," and maybe she hesitated. "Maybe I'm not enough." The word struck him like a physical blow. "Not enough. Sarah, you have no idea how much you've brought to my life. It doesn't matter where we come from." She took a deep breath, the night air heavy with unspoken fears. "But it does matter, Michael. What happens when we step back into reality? When they see us together? What will they think?" He shook his head, frustration bubbling up. "Why does their opinion matter? We're the ones making this choice. I'm not going to let their judgments define us." "But it's not just about them," she said, eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "It's about how I feel too. I want to be strong for you, but I keep doubting myself. What if they don't accept me?" In that moment he realized the depth of her struggle. This wasn't just about friendship or acceptance. It was about how she viewed her place in the world. Michael reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers, anchoring her to the moment. "You're incredible, Sarah. What you said inside, that took a lot of courage. You stood up to them when I was too scared to speak. Just remember, I chose you. I want you by my side." She bit her lip, fighting the tears that threatened to spill. What if this whole thing is just too much? Michael's heart cracked in sympathy. Then we deal with it together. But I need you to trust me, to trust us. She nodded slowly, the promise hanging in the air like a fragile thread waiting to be woven into something stronger. Suddenly, the door from inside swung open, and Rachel popped her head out, her face lit by curiosity. You two okay out here? Michael squeezed Sarah's hand tighter, heart racing. Yeah, we're good. As Rachel retreated inside, the weight of the moment hung between them, both hopeful and haunting. Michael had no idea what tomorrow would bring, but he felt the storm slowly settle, if even for a moment. Yet a new worry bubbled to the surface. Could they both fight against not just the doubts of others, but their own insecurities? Just then, Sarah's phone buzzed insistently in her pocket. She pulled it out, glancing at the screen, her face paling as she read the message. It's my mom, she wants to talk. Michael felt a chill creep down his spine. What did that mean for them? The night wasn't over yet, and he couldn't shake the feeling that a bigger storm was brewing just on the horizon. Sarah's breath hitched as she stared at her phone, her average night suddenly drenched in dread. She never just wants to talk, she muttered, anxiety lacing her voice. Michael's heart sank. He could see the tension knotting Sarah's stomach, and the uncertainty clouding her bright eyes. What do you want to do? He asked gently, his grip on her hand tightening. He couldn't push her, but he wanted to be her rock. She thought about it, her brow furrowed, the night sounds now feeling miles away. I should probably just explain things to her, Sarah said slowly, but her voice lacked conviction. But what do I even say? She doesn't know about you, and what if she doesn't understand? Michael instinctively wanted to shield her from whatever was coming. You could show her who I am, not just what people think. His voice was hopeful, but his gut was twisting with worry. And who you are. You're strong. Just let her see it. Easier said than done, she said with a faint half-smile, but the stricken look returned as her phone buzzed again, this time louder, almost demanding. Maybe it'll be okay, Michael tried to reassure her, although doubt slinked in his mind. Yeah, maybe, she whispered, her voice trailing off like a kite caught in a gust of wind. Sarah pushed herself to her feet, pacing a little on the porch as she fought against the weight of her swirling thoughts. Each step felt heavy, her heart pounding in her chest. We can face it together, right? Michael asked, taking a step closer and searching her eyes. You don't have to do this alone. She turned to him, a fleeting smile flashing across her face before the anxiety returned. I know. I want you by my side. The sound of laughter still echoed from inside, a stark reminder of the worlds they were trying to blend. But what if she doesn't accept us? What if we figure it out, Michael interrupted, feeling a surge of determination. All those worries, Sarah, all the what-ifs don't matter unless we let them. Let us show her who we really are. She nodded, inhaling deeply. Okay, but I'm scared. Michael stepped closer, tilting his head to catch her gaze. Trust me, he whispered, wishing he could infuse her with his courage. You are so much more than what anyone thinks. You're strong and I believe in you. Thanks, Michael. Her voice was steadying, but worry still lingered like an unwelcome guest. They stood there, the air thick with uncertainty yet layered with hope. The buzzing from Sarah's phone broke the spell, the screen flashing again. I should call her. She squeezed his hand, a mixture of determination and fear flowing between them. Yeah, he said softly. And remember, I'm here. She took a breath, her chest rising and falling with the weight of her decision. As she dialed, Michael felt a fragile sense of anticipation build in the space around them. Each ring felt like a countdown, a reminder that their worlds were no longer isolated but woven together, for better or for worse. Hello? The voice on the other line sounded distant, but the intensity of every unspoken word crackled in the air between them. Yes, Mom. We need to talk. In that instant, Michael felt the winds of change swirling. Each word Sarah spoke would either bind them closer or push them apart forever. The fear of the unknown gnawed at him. Just as he paced the porch, a nagging thought burrowed in his mind. Would they make it through this storm, or was the deluge just beginning? But as he watched Sarah's face transform through vulnerability and strength, he understood they were about to reveal something deeper than he could have imagined. Sarah's voice wavered as she spoke, the tension threading through her words. Mom, it's about me and Michael. There is something I need to tell you. She glanced up at Michael, his face a mix of encouragement and anxiety. The porch light threw soft shadows across his features, illuminating the worry etched in his expression. There was silence on the other end, and Sarah felt every second stretch out like an eternity. What if this was a mistake? What if she was about to walk into a storm? She brushed her thumb against Michael's hand, seeking comfort. "Are you there?" Sarah's heart raced, waiting for her mother to respond. "Of course I'm here. You never call this late unless it's serious. What on earth are you talking about?" The impatience was palpable. Her mother's voice had a way of slicing through the air, sharp and demanding. "I am seeing someone. Someone you don't know." The words spilled out before she could stop them. "His name is Michael, and is he another one of those boys I told you to stay away from?" Her mother interrupted, the skepticism dripping from her tone. "What makes this one different?" Sarah took another deep breath, trying to gather her thoughts. "Yes, not what you think. He is genuine. Kind. He sees me for who I am, not what I should be." She could feel Michael's supportive presence next to her, giving her strength to press on. "Does he have a good job? Will he be able to take care of you?" The questions came rapid fire, one after another, and Sarah felt her heart sink lower with each one. "It's not about that," she burst out, surprising even herself with the force of her words. "I'm not asking for your approval based on his bank account. I like him, Mom, no, I love him. And I need you to try to understand that." The silence that followed was suffocating. The only sound was the faint hum of the night, the occasional rustle of leaves swaying in the breeze. They stood together on the porch, Sarah's heart too loud in her ears, while Michael's steadfast presence grounded her. Then finally her mother spoke, the words heavy with disbelief. "You can't be serious, Sarah. Love doesn't just happen overnight. You have to think about your future. What if this is just a phase? Maybe, but I don't want to live my life afraid to feel. I don't want to make decisions based on what you or anyone else thinks. This isn't just my phase. It's real. Your future is real too, and it's worth protecting. Can't you see that?" The fence between them was stark, each side holding years of expectation and fear. Sarah felt the sting in her eyes, the heat of frustration rising in her chest. Was this really how it was going to be? "We can figure this out together," Michael murmured softly, his voice only loud enough for her to hear. It was a reminder, a lifeline amid the chaos and arguments that swirled on the other end of the line. "Just promise me one thing, Sarah," her mother continued, her tone softer but still resolute. "You'll think about your choices. You're my daughter and I love you too much to watch you make mistakes. Mom, I just need you to trust me." The weight of that moment pressed down on her, a refusal to let the love she felt be overshadowed by fear or judgment. "Trust is earned, Sarah. I can't promise anything until I meet this boy. Okay?" She felt weary but determined. "I'll bring him home. You'll see for yourself." "Fine. But I can't guarantee I will like him. Mom, please just give him a chance." As the call ended, the relief washed over her like a cool breeze, but confusion still clung to the edges. Michael squeezed her hand, and she searched his eyes for assurance. "Are you okay?" he asked, his expression reassuring. "I think so. What have I just gotten us into?" Michael chuckled lightly, trying to lift the heaviness. "Well, the only way from here is forward. Right?" "Right," she said, letting a breath escape. "But what if her response is worse than I fear?" "Then we figure it out together," he echoed, drawing her a little closer. But deep down, a pulse of dread surged within her. What if it couldn't work? As uncertainty danced around them like shadows in the dim porch light, she wondered if they were truly ready for the battle that lay ahead. The morning sun peered over the horizon, casting a golden warmth across the neighborhood. Sarah awoke with a flutter of nerves in her stomach. Today wasn't just another day. It felt like the start of something monumental. She sat up slowly, reminding herself that she had promised her mother she would introduce Michael. As she dressed, her mind kept racing to the conversation from the night before. The sense of anticipation twisted with a threat of anxiety. This was going to be a crucial test, not just for Michael but for her too. The layers of what-ifs piled up in her mind. What if her mother didn't like him? What if their love wasn't enough? "Hey, beautiful," Michael said, stepping into her room with a bright smile that melted the tension in her chest, if only slightly. His casualness grounded her. "Ready for today? Do I look ready?" she joked, a weak laugh escaping her lips. More than ready. He leaned down for a quick kiss, and for a moment the world outside faded. As they made their way to the kitchen, Sarah's mother's voice echoed in her ears. Love doesn't just happen overnight. Seemed impossible to ignore. Yet here she was, already feeling the weight of what they shared. Her mother's busy footsteps echoed in the hallway, a reminder that the moment was almost here. Sarah inhaled deeply, wrapping her arms around Michael for a brief second before stepping into the kitchen. The smell of fresh coffee filled the air, and her mother stood at the counter, reviewing bills with a frown. She looked up as they entered, her expression morphing from annoyance to surprise. "Oh, I didn't realize you'd be bringing him this early," she said, setting down the papers. "Mom, this is Michael," Sarah introduced, her voice steady, even as her heart raced. Michael extended his hand with an easy smile. "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Roberts." Her mother studied him for a moment, her calculating gaze making Sarah's stomach turn. "Just call me Joan," she replied coolly, shaking his hand briefly. Michael's confidence never wavered. "Sarah talks about you a lot. It's great to finally meet the person behind all those stories." "I hope they're good stories," Joan replied, leveling him with an eye. "Only the best," he said, matching her intensity with an easy charm that made him seemingly unshakable. With the awkwardness hovering over them, Sarah could feel the tension thickening in the air. "So, I thought we could just have breakfast together to get to know each other better," she suggested, forcing a smile. "Breakfast sounds good." Joan walked back into the kitchen, preparing a few more plates. "You know, Michael, do you plan on going to college? What are your plans for the future?" "Mom," Sarah interjected, "let us just have a meal first? I'm just trying to understand what kind of boy my daughter is dating," her mother shot back, refusing to back down. Michael maintained his cool composure. "I'm currently working full-time to save for college. I plan to go next year once I have enough. I'm really focused on my goals." "I see," Joan replied, her voice dripping with skepticism. The atmosphere felt charged, like a balloon stretched too tight, ready to pop. Sarah glanced nervously between them, hoping to bridge the gap of uncertainty that hung in the air. "Michael loves art," she interjected, eager to steer the conversation toward safer ground. "He is so talented." "I wouldn't say love more of a hobby," Michael chuckled, waving it off, clearly not wanting to draw too much attention to himself. But her mother pressed on, "Art is all good and well, but it doesn't pay the bills. Do you have any plans besides that?" "Mom, come on." Sarah felt frustration bubbling beneath the surface. This wasn't going how she had imagined. But just as she was about to speak up, Michael placed a gentle hand on her back and turned to Joan. "I understand your concerns, and I really appreciate your honesty. But I care about Sarah, and I want to make her happy. I'm just trying to figure it out like most young adults my age." His words hung in the air, creating an unexpected shift. The storm was brewing, but Sarah felt a sliver of hope pierce through the tension. "Fine," Joan relented, her expression softening slightly. "I'll give you both a chance, but I expect to keep hearing about your progress. In life, it's important to prioritize." As they finished breakfast, the room still felt somewhat charged. Yet the chaos had shifted into a fragile understanding. Sarah felt like maybe they could settle into a rhythm, even amidst the fray. But would they ever truly find solid ground? "Do you think this is what love looks like?" Sarah whispered to Michael as their plates emptied, uncertainty knitting her brow. "Maybe. Or maybe love means facing what scares us together," he responded quietly, locking eyes with her as they left the table. Sarah knew one thing for sure. Their journey was just beginning, and they had only scratched the surface of what lay ahead. Would love be enough to withstand the trials they face? That thought lingered in her mind as her heart raced once again. What if they were destined to discover something far deeper than love? The echoes of breakfast still hung in the air as Sarah and Michael stepped outside. The sun had moved higher, casting longer shadows across the sidewalk. Sarah could feel the warmth on her face, but it did little to chase away the chill of uncertainty that settled in her stomach. "Are you okay?" Michael asked, glancing sideways at her. His concern was palpable, a gentle reminder that he was there, right by her side. "I'm not sure," she admitted, biting her lip. "I thought today would be easier." "Well, it wasn't a total disaster." He shrugged with a playful smirk. "We survived the interrogation." "Yeah, barely." She chuckled, but her mind raced with doubt. What if she doesn't give you a chance? What if this isn't enough for her? Michael paused, taking a deep breath. I can't change how she feels. But I can show her who I am, right? I mean, she'll see I'm not going anywhere. Sarah stopped walking, the weight of his words hanging between them. You really mean that? Of course, he replied, his eyes earnest. We're a team. We face everything together. Touched, Sarah looked at Michael, seeing him not just as a boyfriend, but as a partner in a world that felt constantly shifting. Okay, let us do this together. As they strolled toward the park, her spirits lifted with every step. Children's laughter filled the air, and couples wandered hand in hand, a reminder that love was everywhere. She took a deep breath, allowing fresh hope to wash over her. If love meant navigating challenges, then this was just their beginning. Michael's back pocket vibrated with the sound of his phone. He pulled it out, glancing at the screen. It's Jake. He wants to hang out later. What do you think? Jake? Sarah couldn't help but smile. Jake was his best friend, honestly the life of the group. I've only met him like twice. Oh, should I be worried? Michael laughed. Nah, you'll like him. He's a good guy. Plus it'll be fun. You know I'm not good with first impressions. Yeah, that's true, she teased, nudging him playfully. But only if your mom agrees. Can't have another breakfast showdown. Deal. As they reached the park, they found a quiet bench under a large oak tree, its leaves fluttering like nervous butterflies in the gentle breeze. Sitting down, Michael turned to face her, his expression serious. Can I be honest with you? He asked. Always, she replied, feeling her heart race in anticipation. I'm scared too. I get that your mom has her doubts, and honestly that weighs on me. He paused, his brows knitting together. But I'm not giving up. I want our love to be strong enough to withstand anything. His vulnerability shook Sarah. She'd always thought of love as a fairy tale, free of fears and uncertainties. But this was real, messy, and so much more beautiful. We'll get through this. Together, she echoed softly, squeezing his hand. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the world whiz by, but an underlying tension still lurked just beneath the surface. Do you think your mom will ever warm up to me? Michael finally asked, breaking the silence. I hope so, she replied, the thought lingering like a chained weight around her heart. She just wants what's best for me, maybe a little too much sometimes. He nodded, his expression contemplative. You know I'd love for her to see us the way I see us. That's what's keeping me pushing forward. What if she just needs to see us in action? Intrigued by the idea, Sarah leaned closer. What do you mean? Let us show her that we can handle things together. Let us take her to that art exhibit next week. I think if she sees how passionate I am about art, maybe she'll understand me better. Wow. Michael, I love that idea. Excitement fluttered inside her, but a shadow of doubt crept back. But what if she rejects it? Then we try again. It's not about convincing her all at once. It's a journey, right? Sarah smiled at him, energy surging through her. You're right. We can do this. Their hearts pounded in unison as they briefly locked eyes, a newfound determination filling the air. But just as they leaned closer, her phone buzzed again, shattering the moment. It was a reminder for dinner, her mom's cooking night. Sarah's heart sank, knowing it was their first test, and she wasn't even sure what awaited her there. Guess it's time to face the music, she said, standing up reluctantly. Together, he reminded her, standing by her side. As they walked back toward home, the reality of her mom's expectations hung over them like a cloud. Would they emerge stronger? Or was this only the beginning of deeper struggles? The thought gnawed at her. Can love really conquer all these hurdles? And as those questions swirled, she felt a thrill of fear creeping in. What was waiting for them at dinner could change everything. The evening descended like a curtain, heavy with anticipation as Sarah and Michael stepped into the familiar kitchen. The lively sound of pots clanking and her mother humming along to the radio filled the space, but it felt more suffocating than welcoming. Today was pivotal, and Sarah's stomach twisted with swirling emotions, a mix of excitement and dread. Sarah inhaled deeply, grounding herself. Remember, together, Michael whispered, glancing over with a reassuring smile. Their hands brushed against each other, a silent pact they shared. She nodded, although the knot in her stomach remained tight. Hey, you're home. Her mother called, glancing up to see them enter. "Dinner is almost ready." The smile on Joan's face was tentative, but Sarah caught the flicker of interest as she turned her attention to Michael. "You're just in time to help with the salad." Michael grinned, easing into the moment, but Sarah felt a prickle of anxiety. The air was charged, each conversation laden with possibilities and unspoken judgments. "Sure, I'd love to help," he replied enthusiastically as they moved to the counter. Sarah stole furtive glances at her mother, noticing the cautious way she scrutinized Michael. It filled her with a mix of pride and apprehension, knowing this meal could become a battleground or a bridge. Dinner began with small talk and awkward dance around heavier subjects. Joan asked general questions, and Michael responded with casual confidence. "So what do you do for fun?" she ventured, her tone light but her eyes sharp with curiosity. "I sketch a lot, actually," Michael said, choosing his words carefully. "Art helps me find balance in a chaotic world." He looked at Sarah as he spoke, her supportive smile fueling his passion. "I'd like to pursue it more seriously, like maybe get into a program next year." Joan studied him, taking in the sincerity of his words. "That sounds nice," she replied, her tone still cautious. Then, Sarah felt the moment shift. Michael's chance to show who he really was had arrived. "Actually, I was thinking about taking Sarah to that art exhibit next week. I want her to see where my interest lies." Her mother's eyebrows lifted, a flicker of surprise crossing her face. "You really think that will impress her?" "It's not just about impressing her," he said, his voice steady. "It's about sharing a part of me with someone I care for deeply. I want her to understand why art matters to me." In that moment, Sarah felt a wave of admiration wash over her. Michael was bold and unapologetic, unafraid to reveal his heart. She watched her mother analyze his response, weighing the truth of his declaration. Joan paused, her disappointment turning into consideration. "I suppose that's admirable. It takes guts to pursue something passionate without guarantees." "That's why we're doing this together," Sarah interjected. "We're learning from each other, supporting each other through our challenges." Michael reached over and squeezed her hand, and for a brief moment, everything felt right. A shared understanding radiated across the table like warm light cutting through the dark. Joan's gaze softened slightly. "Okay, but you need to get your priorities straight, both of you. I don't want you losing focus on what matters in life." Michael nodded earnestly. "I promise you I'm careful about that. I want to make Sarah happy." And just as the barrier began to crack, Sarah watched as a flash of fear crossed her mother's face. "Just know that love doesn't mean ignoring reality." "I understand," Sarah said, steeling herself. "But it does mean we can navigate it together, right, Michael?" "Absolutely," he said, determination etched on his face. Dinner continued, laughter occasionally punctuating the tension. By the time dessert arrived, a real connection had formed, albeit fragile like glass. Joan commented on the artistic way Michael plated the dessert, revealing a strange warmth creeping into her voice. "Guess you do have a knack for this," she said, leaning back in her chair. "Thanks. It's all about presentation," Michael quipped back, a glint of humor sparking in his eyes. As they finished up, Sarah felt lighter. Love and connection filled the dining area like fragrant air. She could see a pathway emerging, one of understanding and acceptance. The seeds of doubt that had once towered high hovered, but they were tempered by a flickering light of hope later, when the dishes were cleared and her mother had excused herself to check on a few things around the house. Sarah caught Michael's eye across the room. She could hardly contain her joy. "You did so good tonight," she whispered, wrapping her arms around him. "I was just trying to be me," he smiled, but worry lingered. "Do you think she's finally coming around?" Sarah's heart swelled with optimism. "I believe so. We just need to keep showing her our truth." As they stepped outside into the cooler evening air, the fresh scent of damp earth enveloped them, and with the gentle breeze behind them, hope filled their hearts. The uncertainty of tomorrow was still there, but together they would carve their path, one defined by love, trust, and unwavering support. "Whatever happens next, we face it together," Sarah said, glancing up at the twinkling stars above. Together, Michael agreed, intertwining his fingers with hers, a silent pledge for the journey ahead. The bond that had once felt fragile now stood strong, ready to weather any storm. Love was indeed becoming a haven, one they would fiercely protect. And as they walked away from the kitchen, Sarah knew they were not just chasing a dream. They were realizing it hand in hand, heart to heart. Now is your time. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation.